Good morning students. Welcome for today's e-learning session of Sri G. N. Rhoda Primary School, Standard 5th, and subject of the day is Social Studies. My dear students, today we are going to start the second chapter of our syllabus, which deals with our daily life schedule. You know students, the chapter's name is the Age of Machines. And which age is called as the Age of Machines? This era. The era in which we are living is called as the Age of Machines. And the reason for it is our life is completely dependent on machine. As you wake up till you sleep, and after sleeping also you are using the machines, you know. Which kind of machines are this? So those are the electrical machines, and without electrical also. Some of the machines that we are using may not require the electricity, right? The bottle opener, your pen, your eraser, those are also working for the pencil, the chain, the zip in your bags, the velcros in your shoes, all these things. Okay? So these machines are just to make our life easy. Why are we like? Because we have to work to do something, to get something in return. So our work becomes easier. So our life also becomes easier way. So before we start the chapter, we have to discuss about the importance of the chapter. What is the objective of the chapter? Let's see. So first objective is to understand the significance of machines to accomplish multiple tasks in our day-to-day life. So अपने जीवन में हमारे लाइफ में हम रोज हर एक हिस्से में हर एक काम के लिए मशीन कुछ ना कुछ मशीन का यूज कर रहे हैं. Even your bucket is also kind of machine only to carry the water. Okay, otherwise आपके लिए पानी कैरी करना बहुत ही difficult task होता था. So to understand the significance of these things, then to gain knowledge of early stone tools and discovery of metals that we are going to study in this chapter. Early human के पास तो machine था ही नहीं. So how have they spent their life? Because of the stone tools. And then progress होता गया है discovery of metals भी हुआ and then machines. To define the properties of each metal and its various uses in the early days. To understand the factors that led to industrial revolution. कौन-कौन से factors थे, कौन-कौन सा reason, कौन-कौन से tools थे जिनके कारण हम industrial revolution तक पहुंचे हैं. To learn about different sources of energy and upcoming alternative sources of energy. There are so many sources of energy. Sources means the from where do we get the things. ऐसी जगह जहाँ से हमें कुछ मिलता हो उसे कहते हैं source. तो हमें एनर्जी कहाँ से मिलती है इतना वर्क करने की? और machines run करने के लिए कुछ एनर्जी चाहिए. Not only the electricity but many things are there. That those sources of energy we are going to study. और हर sources के कुछ pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages है. So उनके behalf में हम कुछ alternative sources of energy भी use कर सकते हैं. That we are going to learn in this chapter. Excited now? Okay. So first of all, what is a machine? See, the definition has been given. Obviously, the machine is a thing. It is a tool that makes our work easier. So a machine is a tool that makes our work easier. An example here has been given for the bottle opener and the hand cart and so on. So what is machine? It is a tool. Why is a tool? Tool is used for a purpose. So we are using a machine for a purpose. And what is the purpose? That makes our work easier. It saves us time and energy. What do you mean by easy? जिससे आपका टाइम प्लस एनर्जी बच जाए, जिसके लिए हमें बहुत सारा हार्ड एफर्ट न करना पड़े. करेक्ट? An example here I have taken for a bottle opener. See, आपने थम्स की बॉटल देखी होगी. Does it open so easily? No, we require a bottle opener for that purpose, right? Plus hand cart. Hand cart means the cart which we pull with the help of hands. उसमें तो हमारा एफर्ट लगेगा, but कम, मतलब comparatively कम. अगर उसमें व्हील नहीं होगा तो हमें बहुत ज़्यादा मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. Clear? If we are having a luggage without wheel, so you will have to carry it. आपको उठाना पड़ेगा. But nowadays luggage without wheel is not being sold only. होते ही नहीं है मार्केट में, इट्स नॉट अवेलेबल ऑलरेडी. So you are having a luggage, even the school bags are having the wheels. Some of the school bags have been come in the market. Now next, early stone tools. Early stone tools means in the early period what happened, there were no machines, people were not so much conscious about they were not aware about the machines. पता है आपको वो लाइफ कैसी थी, एकदम सिंपल लिविंग. Those are the gatherer, those are just gathering the food. उनको तो प्रोड्यूस करने भी नहीं आता था. तो अब वो क्या करेंगे, किस तरह का मशीन यूज करेंगे? So they used to make the use of stone tools. They created the tools from the stones. How? See, the first tools were made by early humans were simple stone tools. Starter stone tools. They used to collect the sharp and the heaviest stones so as they can attack on the animals or cut the branches of the trees. They started using tools made of metals, which took thousands of years. After that, थोड़ा उनको idea लगा, then they started making use of metals instead of the stone. Why metals? Because those are much sharper and good in quality, better in quality than the stones, and easy to carry also. Most of the machines that we use today were invented over the last 300 years ago. What do you mean by 300 years ago? 3 centuries complete हो गए. इतने पुराने machines भी हम आजकल यूज कर रहे हैं, you know. You must have seen that pestle जो देखा है, ओकली हम कहते हैं हिंदी में. Okay, so many of the things are there. Even a knife is also a kind of machine. The spoon which we eat is a machine. वो हमारा खाना खाने का तरीका है, इजी का है ना? Otherwise you will have to eat with your hand and it must be difficult for some of the people. Let's move ahead. Now discovery of metals. अभी metals का discovery तो कैसे हुआ देखो. See, first metal था copper, उसके बाद आया bronze and then iron. So the first metal to be discovered was the copper, and it was used to make better quality tools. Stone से भी better quality के tools इससे बनते थे. Then came bronze, which was a mixture of copper and tin. इन दोनों का mixture से क्या बना? Bronze, and it was harder than copper. As compared to copper, it was much harder. Then came the iron. Iron was harder than both copper and bronze, and it was used to make better tools. Better means as compared to copper and bronze. Copper और bronze के tools से better quality के tools है, तो वो किसके हैं? Iron के हैं, because it is much durable. और आपने घर पे बाल्टी लिया होगा, तो कॉपर की बाल्टी कौन डेली यूज करता है? नो ना, वो बहुत रेयर यूज करते हैं. नाउ कॉपर प्लेट्स आर वेरी रेयरली यूज्ड. वी यूज इन स्टील इंस्टेड ऑफ मेटल. आयरन के बाद क्या है? स्टील. बट फॉर द मशीनरी पर्पस, मशीन की बात हो रही है, हम आयरन करके अपना मेटल रिमेट करेंगे. अदरवाइज गोल्ड एंड सिल्वर आर आल्सो देयर, बट दोस आर नॉट यूज्ड एज अ टूल. सोने का चाकू कभी यूज किया है? नो ना. ओके, नेक्स्ट. नाउ सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ डिस्कवरी ऑफ आयरन. अब आयरन जब डिस्कवर हुआ, उसके बाद क्या क्या चेंजेस आए हमारे लाइफ में, दैट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस हियर इन दिस सेक्शन. सो iron tools are used to cut down trees and clear forests for agriculture. As you know, human population is rising day by day, so we require more agricultural land so that we can produce more crops, right? इतने सारे population है, इतना बड़ा population है, तो उनका पेट कैसे भरेगा? Just because of agriculture. और agricultural land हमें चाहिए, उसके लिए हमें buildings तो हम नहीं हटा सकते ना, हम रहेंगे कहाँ पर? So we have to cut down the forest, which is done with the help of iron tools. Then iron weapons also made it easier to hunt animals also. Fine. In this way, the discovery of iron helped human progress faster. Just because of iron, our progress has become faster. simplest form of machine, you know. So first machine जो ह्यूमन ने बनाया था वो किसका था? व्हील्स का। टूल्स के अलावा वो व्हील्स भी उन्होंने बनाया था। So that make their traveling much easier. पहले उनको by walk ही जाना पड़ता था। Then they started taming the animals for that purpose. Then they started उनको एक बार आइडिया आया कि if we use the circular shape, anything of circular shape, it can have the speed and make our work easier. So he started making the wheel. Okay, so cart using wheels were being used over 5,000 years ago. कितनी centuries आ गए? 250 centuries हो चुकी है इसमें. Okay, then early carts were pulled by humans. और जो पहले जो carts बने हुए थे, those were pulled by the human only. Then they started taming the animals for that purpose. Afterwards, they started using the animals, as I told you. Then came the boats. And for what purpose do they use the boat? For crossing the water body. So early boats and rafts were rowed by the humans. You must have seen the rowing boat. Robot देखा होगा आपने. Then they learned using the force of the wind and made sailboats. पुश तो इवेंट हुआ होगा, इंसिडेंट हुआ होगा जब उनको इसका आइडिया आया. नाउ आपने रोइंग बोट तो देखा होगा, बट विंड अगर बहुत ज्यादा तूफान है, बहुत जोरों की हवा है, तो उसको अपोजिट डायरेक्शन में जाने में बहुत टाइम लगता है. सो दिस प्रॉब्लम हैड बिकेम द सॉल्यूशन आल्सो फॉर द ह्यूमन. उससे भी प्रोग्रेस हुआ. हर प्रॉब्लम के सॉल्यूशन होता है, तो उसने प्रॉब्लम को ही सॉल्यूशन बना दिया. अगर विंड का एनर्जी से बोट कहीं किसी डायरेक्शन में जा सकती है, सो व्हाई डोंट वी यूज द विंड इंस्टेड ऑफ द रोइंग बोट? सो ही स्टार्टेड टेकिंग द फोर्स ऑफ द विंड. फॉर दैट पर्पस ही हैड टू कन्वर्ट द बोट इनटू द सेलिंग बोट, सेल बोट. ओके, दे आल्सो लर्न टू मेक द यूज ऑफ द फोर्स ऑफ मूविंग वाटर टू रन द सिंपल मशीन्स. ओके, सिंपल मशीन्स बनाने के लिए उसको फ्लो ऑफ मूविंग वाटर का भी आइडिया आ गया. क्लियर? नाउ द स्टीम इंजन एंड द इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन. अब इन दोनों का क्या कनेक्शन है? यू मस्ट बी वंडरिंग हाउ दे आर कनेक्टेड टू ईच अदर. सो दे आर कनेक्टेड बाय स्टीम इंजन का तो इफेक्ट हमने ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में पढ़ा ही था. बिकॉज ऑफ स्टीम इंजन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में कितना प्रोग्रेस हुआ. बड़े बड़े ट्रेन्स बनने लगे, शिप्स बनने लगे, राइट. फिर इंडस्ट्री में क्या उसका इफेक्ट है? देखो क्या इफेक्ट पड़ा. विद द इन्वेंशन ऑफ स्टीम इंजन मैन हैड अ पावरफुल फोर्स टू रन दैट मशीन्स. अभी मैन के पास बहुत ज्यादा पावर वाली मशीन्स मिल गई. बहुत ज्यादा स्टीम इंजन इतना पावर देती थी कि मशीन्स फास्ट काम कर सकती थी. Building and running big machines became possible. अभी स्टीम के कारण ना ही सिर्फ मशीन बनाना, बट उसे रन करना, उसे यूज करना भी बहुत इजी हो गया. क्योंकि जो मशीन के लिए हमें ह्यूमन की जरूरत पड़ती थी, नाउ द मशीन वाज डूइंग इट्स वर्क बाय इटसेल्फ जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द स्टीम इंजन. Invention of the larger steam-driven machines. Larger steam-driven machines means larger machines which are working on the larger machines working on the steam resulted in production of goods in large quantities. जितनी बड़ी machines बनाओ उतने ज़्यादा goods उसमें मिलते थे. Now इसका इफेक्ट क्या हुआ? Such goods were cheaper and better in quality. Obviously एक ही टाइम पे एक बड़ी सी मशीन बहुत सारे goods प्रोड्यूस कर रही है, तो उसका जो रेट होगा वो चीपर होगा. टाइम बच रहा है, ह्यूमन की सैलरी वेजेस भी बच गए, and they were better in quality also. अगर वही चीज ह्यूमन प्रोड्यूस करता है, तो हर ह्यूमन का अलग अलग कैपेसिटी के हिसाब से हो सकता है उस प्रोडक्ट में कुछ प्रॉब्लम आए या कुछ कम ज्यादा क्वालिटी में प्रॉब्लम आ सकता है. बट हियर इट वाज अपोजिट. दिस लेड टू ब्रेकिंग ऑफ द फैक्ट्री सिस्टम. और इसी से फैक्ट्री सिस्टम बढ़ गया, क्योंकि डिमांड बढ़ गया था उन चीजों का. सो द डिमांड वाज इंक्रीज्ड. उस चीज का डिमांड बढ़ गया. दिस लेड टू ब्रेकिंग ऑफ द फैक्ट्री सिस्टम. ओके, अभी गुड्स का डिमांड बढ़ा, तो उसके लिए हमें बहुत सारे मशीनरीज इसी तरह के बड़े-बड़े मशीनरीज हमें खरीदने पड़े. और एक ही जगह पे बहुत सारे मशीन्स है तो उस जगह को हम क्या कहते हैं, फैक्ट्री। दिस चेंज फ्रॉम हैंडमेड गुड्स टू मशीन मेड गुड्स इज नोन एज द इंडस्ट्रियल रिवॉल्यूशन। और इसी चेंज को हम क्या नाम देंगे, इंडस्ट्रियल रिवॉल्यूशन। रिवॉल्यूशन मीन्स अ बिग चेंज एंड इंडस्ट्रियल मीन्स रिलेटेड टू इंडस्ट्री, मतलब इंडस्ट्री यानी फैक्ट्री रिलेटेड चीजों में इतना बड़ा रिवॉल्यूशन आया। रिवॉल्यूशन मीन्स द चेंज फॉर द गुड, एकदम डेवलपमेंट होने लगा। दिस वाज पॉसिबल जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द इन्वेंशन ऑफ स्टीम इंजन। नाउ apart from the steam engine there are some sources of energy also. So which are they? Coal, petroleum, electricity and hydroelectricity. अभी इनमें क्या डिफरेंस है, क्या उनमें इफेक्ट है और हाउ प्रॉब्लमेटिक आर दे, दैट वी आर गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड। हर चीज के प्रॉस एंड कॉन्स, प्रॉस एंड कॉन्स मींस फायदा प्लस नुकसान भी होता है। हम दवाई भी लेते हैं तो उसका असर तो होता है प्लस साइड इफेक्ट भी होते हैं, क्लियर? सो हियर आल्सो दो दे आर हैविंग सम प्रॉस बट दे आर हैविंग सम कॉन्स एज वेल, मींस एडवांटेजेस एंड disadvantages or merits, demerits. So coal, what was the coal? It was the first fuel to be used in the steam engines. सबसे पहला फ्यूल जो स्टीम इंजन में जलाने के लिए यूज होता था। यू नो ना स्टीम इंजन में क्या होता है, स्टीम प्रोड्यूस करना है। स्टीम कहाँ से प्रोड्यूस होगा, until and unless you burn a thing, no. So coal had to be burned in steam to produce the steam. So obtained from mines. From where do we get the coal? We obtain it from the mines. Mostly used in power plants. कौन से प्लांट होता है पावर प्लांट? These plants are the machineries. Big machineries are called as the plants. Factories में जो machines use होते हैं बड़े-बड़े, उन्हें हम कहते हैं plant. तो power plant means the plants that machinery is using the power of steam engine. Formed in nature from dead trees. अभी कैसे बनता है coal? It is naturally occurring fuel. नेचर में ही मिलता है, but from the dead trees. एक झाड़ को मरने में कितना टाइम लगता होगा, मरने में मतलब गिरने में, ओके? So takes millions of years to form. अब उसे बनने में भी बहुत साल लग जाते हैं। Clear students till then? Till now? Now next move. Let's move to the next. So petroleum. Found deep inside the earth. पेट्रोलियम हमें कहाँ मिलता है, अर्थ के बहुत अंदर, बहुत डीप हमें जाना पड़ेगा for finding the petroleum. अब उसमें से क्या क्या मिलता है, पेट्रोल, kerosene and diesel. These are again the fuel oil which are used for burning. It replaces steam engines in automobiles and machines. अभी machines में और automobiles means the vehicles using the power. वो vehicles जिसमें power यूज होता था, तो जिस steam engine के यूज से ही वो automobiles और machines जो यूज होते थे, उन्होंने ये यूज करना बंद कर दिया and they started using the petrol. कोल से थोड़ा पॉल्यूशन होता था। आज आपके घर में अगर सपोज हवन होता है तो आपको पता है ब्रीथिंग में कितनी प्रॉब्लम आती थोड़ी देर के लिए, वो एनवायरनमेंट कैसा हो जाता है, सेम एनवायरनमेंट वाज क्रिएटेड बाय द कोल आल्सो. सो व्हाट हैपेंड, coal replaced and it was the cheaper than coal also. So replaced steam engines in automobiles and machines. Then its amount is also limited. ये भी coal के जैसे limited ही है, इसको भी बहुत टाइम लगता है प्रोड्यूस होने में. And it may get exhausted in about 100 years. हो सकता है 1 century यानी 100 साल में 100 years में ये खत्म भी हो जाए. So just think what will our future generations do without petrol? How will they ride the vehicles running on the petrol? मतलब हमारा फ्यूचर वापस साइकिल पे ही आना है. Then electricity. Now it is used to run machines in the factories. अभी फैक्ट्रीज में आजकल तो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का ही ज्यादा यूज हो रहा है, आपने स्टीम इंजन बहुत कम देखे होंगे. And Alexander Volta was the first person to make a small battery to produce electric current from wire. So सबसे पहली बैटरी जो थी वो बहुत छोटी थी, which was invented by Alexander Volta. later generators were made to produce electricity और उसके बाद generators का use होने लगा. Now you must not have seen the generators. बहुत rarely use होता है just because it is so heavy and it creates a lot of sound. बहुत hectic हो जाता है, बहुत embarrassing हो जाता है उस काम से. So nowadays the people are using the inverter instead of the generator. Then hydroelectricity. Now what is it? So electricity produced by using the force of flowing water is called the hydroelectricity. See, hydro means related to the water and electricity means electricity related to the water. Hydroelectricity means तो जब भी हम flowing water का यूज करके इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बना रहे हैं तो उसको हम क्या बोलेंगे hydroelectricity. And for this purpose dams are also built. Dams पता है किस किस के लिए यूज होता है? Irrigation plus making the hydroelectricity also. Now there are some other alternative sources of energy. Why do we need to use such other alternatives? Why? Because as I have told you that those sources of energy, though they are having advantages, but there are some disadvantages of using them also. They create pollution, they are about to complete, being exhausted. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to avoid these things, avoid those problems. We have to use alternative sources of energy. So which is the first one? Atomic energy, which is the energy carried by the atoms. Second is the solar energy. As the name suggests, it is the energy from the sun. हम सन की एनर्जी से इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जब प्रोड्यूस करते हैं तो उसे हम क्या कहते हैं? सोलर एनर्जी. Then comes the wind energy. When we produce the electricity with the help of wind. See, in a wind energy is the use of wind to provide mechanical power. So wind turbines to turn electricity generators for electrical power. मतलब जब भी हम wind यूज करके इलेक्ट्रिसिटी प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं तो वो क्या बनेगा? विंड एनर्जी. देन केम द एनर्जी ऑफ फ्लोइंग वाटर. अब वो क्या है? जो हाइड्रोइलेक्ट्रिसिटी हमने पढ़ा. मींस व्हेन फ्लोइंग वाटर इज कैप्चर्ड एंड टर्न इनटू इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, इट इज कॉल्ड एज द हाइड्रोइलेक्ट्रिक पावर और हाइड्रो पावर. और हमने उसको पहले क्या नाम दिया था? हाइड्रोइलेक्ट्रिसिटी. सो हियर I have explained the chapter. We have come towards the end, but it is not still end because I am going to share a video from the extra class. Okay, so enjoy the video.
The age of machines. Machines are everywhere. Where did they emerge from? Are they helpful to us? What purpose do they serve? A day without machines. Children, try and spend a day without taking the help of any machine to accomplish a task. Is it possible? Did you realize your dependence on machines? What all work you couldn't accomplish without them? In our day-to-day life, we make use of numerous machines to accomplish many tasks. This is the reason why the age in which we live today is known as the age of machines. Have you ever wondered who invented the machines And how did they develop? Did early humans also use these machines? The emergence of machines. The early humans first made simple tools that could be used by them for hunting animals. And then, slowly and steadily, the early humans started to use the materials around them to make their life easy. An important step towards invention of machines was the discovery of metals. Copper was the first metal to be discovered. The discovery of copper took place around 8,000 years ago in some parts of Asia. With its discovery, early humans started to make better tools. The discovery of copper was followed by the discovery of another metal named bronze. Bronze was made by mixing copper and tin. Let us take a look at some of the earliest bronze articles. Bronze was harder than copper. The earliest bronze article found are about 6,000 years old. Then came the discovery of iron. Iron was the most important metal to be discovered. It was harder than both copper and bronze and thus was used to make much better tools and weapons. Iron tools are used to cut down the trees and clear the forests. This led to the starting of agriculture. Iron tools also made humans better hunters as it became easier to hunt animals by using them. Then came the earliest wheels, carts, and boats. Earlier, humans were used to pull the carts, but later, animals-driven carts were brought into use. Now, let us study about the most important event, that is, the Industrial Revolution.
At the end of the 18th century, the first steam engines were built, driven by water, heated by coal. Suddenly, horses were replaced by machines on the farm, and factories became mechanized. And these factories could be fed by raw goods brought to them on steam trains.
Inventions and inventors. About 300 years ago, people used the force of their own muscles, animals, wind, and flowing water to accomplish various tasks. Then came the invention of steam engine. This led to the emergence of the machine age. A very basic steam engine was designed by Thomas Savery as he tried to pump rainwater out of the coal mines in England. In 1769, James Watt, a Scottish mechanical engineer, further improved the steam engine. In 1814, George Stephenson developed the steam locomotive engine and hence came to be known as the father of the railway industrial revolution. Judicious use of machinery. Benefits of steam engine were faster means of transport became possible. Running big machines also became possible. Use of machines led to the production of goods in large quantities. This marked the beginning of the factory system. Mass production of goods took place as different parts of a product could be produced by different machines. The cost and time of production was also brought down. The number of human error decreased. The profit margin increased. Using machines, goods were produced in large quantities. These goods were cheaper and were of better quality, so their demand also increased. Activity. Which invention was responsible for the Industrial Revolution?
Millions of years ago, forests like these covered the earth. As their trees fell into primeval swamps, one of the greatest of all earthly treasures was born. Coal, a fossil fuel. Ancient mineralized wood that has spent millions of years below ground. And that we now go to great lengths to bring back to the surface to provide us with energy.
You have just read about the advent of machines. Have you ever thought that how did the machines derive the energy to run? Let us now study about the sources of energy. A source of energy is that which is capable of providing enough useful energy at a steady rate over a long period of time.
Oil was first pumped out of the ground in Pennsylvania in 1859. Like whale oil, this was another gift from the sea. Formed from planktonic debris that fell to the sea floor millions of years ago, it is now drilled out of the seabed by massive oil rigs and sucked from underground deposits by rigs on land.
Petroleum. It was accidentally discovered in 1857 in America. It is found deep inside the earth. Fuels like petrol, kerosene, and diesel are derived from it. Gottlieb Daimler, an engineer, invented the first high-speed petrol engine and the first four-wheel automobile. Rudolf Diesel, another German scientist, invented an engine, and this could run on diesel oil instead of petrol. Since the cost of diesel is cheaper, hence trucks, buses, trains, and some generators are run on diesel. The problem with the use of petroleum is that its reserves are limited. According to the experts, the amount of petroleum on the earth may get exhausted in about 100 years. Electricity. Electricity is the most widely used source of energy at present. It was first developed in Netherlands through a toy named Leyden jar. It had two wires. One wire was clipped inside the jar carrying water, while the other was outside the jar. Once these two wires were touched with each other, a spark was produced. American scientist Benjamin Franklin observed the sparks and noted that they are similar to lightning in the sky. About 200 years ago, Alessandro Volta made a small battery which could produce an electric current in a wire. Generators were invented to produce electricity. They use fuels like coal, diesel, petrol, or natural gas. Nowadays, dams are built across the rivers to produce electricity. The electricity produced by using the force of flowing water of rivers is known as hydroelectricity. Alternative source of energy. Today, emphasis is laid on increased use of alternative sources of energy. The reasons for this are the reserves of fossil fuels are limited. The fossil fuels lead to pollution when burnt. Let us now study about the sources of energy that are expected to be used increasingly in future. The most important among them are sun, water, wind, biogas, nuclear energy. The sun is the main source of energy on the earth. Green plants need solar energy to prepare their food through a process called photosynthesis. This energy is directly or indirectly passed on to the animals and human beings. Nowadays, solar power is utilized in solar cells, solar cooker, solar heater, etc. The next alternative source of energy is water. Water stored at a height possesses huge amount of energy, which can be utilized when it is allowed to fall from that height. The next source of energy is wind. Moving air is known as wind. When windmills rotate, they also move the turbines connected to them and thus they generate electricity. Biogas is another eco-friendly fuel being used in rural settings. It has replaced the direct use of cow dung, which causes pollution. The last important source of energy is nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is derived from spilling an atom in a nuclear reaction. Recap. Copper was the first metal to be discovered. After the discovery of iron, better tools could be made. Earlier, human-driven carts were used, which were replaced later by the animal-driven cart. Invention of steam engine led to industrial revolution. Industrial revolution is the change from the handmade goods to machine-made goods that took place in 18th century. Coal was the first fuel that was used in steam engines to produce steam. Petroleum, another source of energy, is used to get fuels such as petrol, kerosene, and diesel. Alessandro Volta made the first small battery that could produce current in a wire. Hydroelectricity is the electricity produced by using the force of flowing water. As there are limited reserves of coal and petroleum on the earth, so we use alternative sources of energy. Examples: sun, wind, water, an atom, etc. Thank you. A presentation by Extra Marks.
So students, here we have come towards the end of today's e-learning session. I expect that you have understood the chapter very well with the help of my explanation as well as from extra marks. Okay, so start learning, complete your work, PDF file, जो भी आपको भेजा हुआ है उसमें वर्क आपको कंप्लीट करो एंड स्टार्ट लर्निंग फॉर द एग्जाम ऑल्सो. स्टे होम, स्टे सेफ एंड टेक केयर ऑफ योरसेल्फ. बाय बाय, हैप्पी